Hi, when we are talking about getting married, moving forward, or we're just getting deeper in our commitment in a relationship, it's really helpful to understand where we both came from. That's something that can really impact us as individuals, and especially as we go to try to relate with another person. Because the one thing we take with us into our future moving forward is stuff from the past. So we really want to take a look at who am I? Where did I come from? How has that influenced and shaped me? What are the parts I like and don't like? And also, who is my partner? What influenced them? What shaped them? What is it that they like and that they don't like? This is ultimately going to help us have a stronger, better marriage and a stronger, better relationship. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can heal from it, overcome it, and ultimately move on with your life. So everything we're going to talk about today comes from Do I? It's the Premarital book. You can find it on Amazon. I will leave a link for it in the description below that you can check out if you're interested. It's on Amazon. So today we're going to take a look at some questions that are found on page 32 from the book Do I? And before we dive in, it's really important to understand these conversations can be a bit more difficult. So we kind of started off with softball questions, right? Who named you, or what does your name mean? What's your first, middle, and last name? We're really just getting used to sharing. Like, this is who I am. This is who named me. This is what my name means, if it means something. So it's really just specific to me, and I'm just sharing with you. And it's not super private. It could be personal, maybe not super personal for many of us. And so it's kind of like if we're struggling sharing these very basic questions that pretty much are told in school, right? When you're a kid growing up, except for maybe what your name means. If we can't talk about that without fighting, we probably need help. And so that's a good time to seek a counselor or start to do a workbook together. But the whole point in a relationship is that we have to be able to share with one another. I have to be able to say and hear hard things, just like my partner needs to be able to say and hear hard things. If we don't get to a place where we could just be honest and share with each other, not take everything super personally, not try to always convince our partner to be just like us, if we can't find a way to not do that, it's going to be a very rocky road, and we're not going to be as close as we could be if we could learn how to share. So really, a lot of these exercises are training us how to share also as we get to know the other person better, because we really want to know, to the best that we can, to the best that the person also is able to share, who this person is before we say I do. That's why it's called Do I, because we're still asking that question. And also, if you are married, no matter how many years, whether it's recent or a long time, the book is also great for helping you to start communicating openly and honestly by getting through some of these questions. And remember, it can be very hard to hear a different opinion than yours, or a different want or need than what you have. It can feel like a threat. It can feel like someone doesn't love you, but the entire point of understanding your partner is to understand them. So we can't limit really fully understanding what it is they want and need and where they're coming from, or we're just going to keep not understanding them. So we have to find a way to be able to say hard things and hear hard things. Okay, so on page 32, a few more things. We want to listen without judging. So we want to listen and maybe decide, is this align with my values? Is this something I'm comfortable with? Is this something I want? So to that degree, but we're not saying something's wrong with you. You need to come into the light, or you need to leave the dark side, right? We're not judging in that degree, but we are making a judgment always if this is what I want for me. Not that you need to change so that you can adapt and fit for me. It's, do you fit for me as you are? That's really what we're trying to see to the best that we can. Another one is, if it gets hard, take a break. That is one of the best coping skills a couple can learn to take healthily and effectively, is a good old-fashioned break. That's where you actually get up, you move around, you do something different, and you agree on when you're going to come back and finish the conversation. Lots of couples explode, and so that's their break, and then they don't go back to it until there's a clash again, and then it's another fight. Or some couples do take a break, but they don't come back to it. So it's really important that, let's take a break. Let's table this until Saturday night at 5. And Saturday night at 5, I'm going to be back like I said I would, because that's how you start to build trust, and that's what makes taking breaks easier. So if taking a break means the conversation never picks back up, my partner is going to trust me less and less and try to hang on to me more and more instead of taking a break. And then it's probably going to be, terrible every time we try to have a hard conversation. So remember, the whole point is learning how to have hard conversations, learning how to hear stuff you don't like, but still being willing to listen and understand, okay, this is a separate person than me, and this is who they are. Okay, so here are a few questions. This is found on page 32 of Do I. These are questions that you're going to ask each other if you feel safe and if you feel like this is a good time to ask. I would really recommend you set time aside where you ask these questions and go through the book or go through some of the questions you're hearing here on YouTube so that you can really have this undivided attention where you're both focused and you understand this is the point of this time, is that we try to understand each other better. Okay, so the first one. Number one, which city and state were you born in? So when we're trying to understand where we come from, you may feel like that's a no-brainer, but I can tell you there are couples who don't know that, who are married. They don't really know where the other person was born. They don't really know the city they were born. So you could even, show your partner the city you were born in. You could see if you could find your house maybe on Google and show it to them. Here is another big thing to remember. Not everyone is proud of where they came from. So you may be very proud of where you came from, but your partner may carry a lot of shame for many different reasons. So we always want to have these conversations with care and not assume everyone had our experience. Or if you had like a dark, terrible experience, you have to realize or be mindful. You'd want to realize or be mindful. Your partner may not have had a dark experience. Maybe they had a great experience, and that's okay. Everyone gets to have whatever experience it was that they had. The biggest thing is, well, I don't know why you would say that. I don't know why you'd think that. Well, if they're saying it, it's probably for a reason. And so we can trust you're sharing to the extent you can share right now. And I'm going to take what I can right now. Okay, the next one. Oh, here's a good one. We'll skip down a bit. Did you move around a lot or grow up in the same home? So sometimes when someone moves a lot in childhood, they kind of get that bug where they just like change. They love constant change and they're always wanting to move. So it's like, did you move around a lot growing up? And if they're like, oh yeah, I went through 12 different grade schools before I was in 6th grade. So it's like, okay, and did you like that? Is that how you want to live? Is that how you want to raise your kids? And if they're like, yeah, I loved it because now I know a ton of people. I got to experience lots of places. I'm kind of like a vagabond at heart. I love to travel and walk around and move around, and moving's really not a big thing to me. I actually don't like staying in the same place too long. Versus sometimes people, have that experience in childhood and they're like, no, I don't ever want to move again. I want to buy one house. I never want my kids to experience that. I was always the new kid. It was very hard for me. So it really just depends on each individual experience, which is why we would want them to tell us their experience rather than assuming what that meant to them and assuming what it is they want because of it. So this is why it's important to share with each other, where did you come from and what is it you want moving forward? Because that's what we're like hitching our wagon to, right? If this is what you're wanting and I'm joining forces with you, let me just decide, is this also what I want? And if not, is there a compromise we can find? And if not, what does that mean for us? And I want to understand that before I say I do. Okay, so the next one, kind of piggybacking off of that question, how many grade schools, junior highs, or high schools did you attend? Some people could also be homeschooled. So then that's another question. Maybe you are very pro homeschool and you never want your child to attend a public school, or maybe you were homeschooled and you never want your child to be homeschooled. So this is a great time if you are planning on having children where part of that conversation could come up. There is room in the book later where that's going to come up again, but it could also just be, how many grade schools did you attend, or junior highs or high schools? And let me share with you how many I attended. Oh, what was that like for you? Maybe you went to the same grade school, junior high, high school, if that was your school experience, and you hated it. You wish you could have been the new kid. Or, whatever your experience is, just where did you came from and what was that like for you? How did that shape you, influence you into future decisions? Let's do one more. Okay, here's one. Are your parents married or divorced? So that's pretty sensitive, right? I think a lot of times couples do seem to know this about each other. I'm trying to think if I've ever met a couple who has not. So a lot of times couples know this about each other's parents. Are they married or divorced? And if they divorced, how old were you when they divorced and how did it impact you? Just any questions you might have around that. And then we're going to let our partners share to the degree that they want to share. So you can see how now these questions are getting a bit more personal, a bit deeper. And so people may need more breaks. People may love talking about it. It just really depends on who you are, who your partner is. But the bigger thing is, these are some of the conversations we want to have before we agree to get married. And even like I said, even if you're already married, it's still okay. Some of these things may be kind of like hidden or haunting your partner and you've just never talked about it. You're probably feeling the ramifications or the impact that's coming through in the marriage because of their experiences, but you've never talked about the experiences. I think that is more common for couples than to have not talked about it. I'm hoping it gets to a place where it's rare that we don't talk about all of this stuff. But I think for as it is today, it's 2025. That's the year. I think it's still very uncommon to talk about a lot of these things because we don't know how. We don't know how to talk. We don't know how to ask. And some of this stuff is not fun for us to talk about. It's not, like I said, we don't have pride in talking about this. There's a lot of shame we can carry. But I'm hoping that you feel safe enough with your partner where you do start to sort of open some of that door and share some of this stuff. Because the more your partner can make sense of you, probably the more patient they can be with you, the more understanding they can be with you, the more that they could actually help you. But if you're not sharing anything, they are not going to understand. So they're probably going to get pretty sick of it pretty quickly. And there's really nothing they can help you with because they don't know where you're coming from, right? So again, you can find this book, Do I? It's available on Amazon, and I hope you do. I hope you go through it with your partner. There will be lots of more videos in this series. I'll leave a link to a playlist where the other videos that are already part of the series are available to you. And I'm wishing you all the best in your relationships. Again, you can find the book on Amazon, and I'll leave you the link. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.